Free FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu, and these are the top stories. Senior judge discloses EU ECOWAS reports on Nigerian elections have no judicial value. Wike attacks Peter Obi. Wike moves to expel Atiku Tambuwal from PDP. Gabon's opposition leader Sima appointed as Prime Minister. Details now. Although the European Union and ECOWAS delegations are accredited to observe Nigeria's elections, their reports of the elections are valueless and inadmissible in Nigerian courts, a senior judge ruled on Wednesday. Moses Ugo, you could recall, was one of the judges that was set to have tendered his resignation from the judicial panel at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. However, on Wednesday, he said that Nigeria's second highest court, which is a court of appeal, said this while reading his ruling as a member of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. You will recall the 5-member panel on the Presidential Election Petition Court dismissed the appeals filed by 3 opposition parties against the election of President Bola Tinubu. While declaring support for his fellow judges on the panel, Mr. Ugo spoke on while the EU and ECOWAS reports, which criticized parts of the 2023 presidential election, were inadmissible in court. The EU, in its final report on the 2023 presidential poll, said though the election showed the commitment of Nigerians to democracy, it also exposed enduring systemic weaknesses and therefore signaled a need for further legal and operational reforms to enhance transparency, inclusiveness and accountability. In his ruling, Mr. Ugo said the EU report tendered by both the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi was inadmissible since the makers of the report did not present themselves in court to face cross-examination to authenticate their opinions. Meanwhile, Nyesom Wike, former governor of Rivers State, has strongly criticized Mr. Peter Obi for his rejection of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal's judgment. Wike challenged Obi to publicly disclose whether he paid any bribes to regain his mandate in a previous court when he was removed as governor of Anambra State. Wike's remarks were made during an appearance on a very monitored television station where he addressed a recent decision by the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and the People's Democratic Party's standard bearer Atiku Abubakar to reject the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, which upheld the victory of Bola Tinubu. Now, Wike, drawing attention to Peter Obi's past experience, asked whether Obi had forgotten how he successfully appealed to the Supreme Court to reclaim his governorship position after being removed. He pressed Obi to clarify whether any bribes were involved during that legal process. Wike emphasized the importance of respecting judicial decisions and highlighted the apparent inconsistency in attitudes toward the judiciary depending on whether the outcome aligns with one's interest. He called for a consistent and unwavering trust in the judicial system, even in the face of disagreements with specific judgments. Wike asked, did Peter Obi not win at the Supreme Court when he was removed as governor? He asked again, did he pay bribe? Let him tell the world now. Judiciary was right then, but now that the decision happened, judiciary is wrong? End quote. To talk extensively about this, I actually have via the telephone Mr. Darlington, who is a public affairs commentator, a political enthusiast as well, and he is also a legal practitioner. Mr. Darlington, good afternoon and welcome to the World News at 12.
Yeah, Mary, good afternoon, and how are you today?
I am fine. Thank you so much for, gracing us via the telephone to give us your intellectual input on the conversation this afternoon. You heard what I read about what Wike said, his reaction to Peter Obi declaring yesterday that he intends to go to the Supreme Court to continue to fight his mandate. And, Wike threw jabs at him. He said, when you were the governor of Anambra State, when you went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court ruled in your favor, at that time, the judiciary was upfront and upright. But but now that same judiciary that you trusted at the time and that you called would always uphold you is not now staying upright and is not living right with its conclusion at the Election Petition Tribunal. What would you say to Wike's remarks to that?
Wike is not speaking intelligently.
Okay.
He is not, because Obi went to court because he was cheated, and the court reinstated him. That is the same thing he's doing now. Obi believes that he has been cheated, and that's why he's going to court. So what is Wike saying? What is he saying? I want to believe what people said, that this man drinks a lot early in the morning. If not, why is he contradicting himself? When Peter Obi went to court during the Anambra Guba, was it not because he was cheated? And the Supreme Court looked at it and said, yes, Obi has a case. And they rejected it. The same thing he's doing now. So what is this that they contradict what he's doing, what he did in Anambra and what he's doing now? That Wike should be speaking from both sides of his mouth. He's not intelligent. He's not. Wike has forgotten that it was what Amesi and Omeya did in Rivers that made him become to come to political limelight.
Okay.
Amesi had to go and contest that Omeya did not qualify to even become the governor, and that was why the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Amesi, and Amesi became the governor, and Wike became his chief of staff. From there, he became whatever he is today. Is that not true?
He became whatever he is today, Darlington.
Yes.
You said he became what? From there, he became whatever he is today.
Yes, now, because if Amesi did not come into political limelight, Wike wouldn't have been anywhere now. He wouldn't. It was Amesi that brought him. When Amesi became the governor. So what is he saying? That, okay, I don't know the one that was telling Obi and the other people to go to court. So why are they not persuading them not to go to court? Let them go to court and exhaust all their legal, all the legal opportunities they have. Nobody should stop at Obi to be. It is his right.
All right.
I don't know why Wike is crying.
No. Well, he is not disputing that it is his right. I think what Wike is trying to say is that there is no need to go to the Supreme Court, but that he should agree with what the tribunal has said and let there be commonness in terms of an agreement in terms of moving the nation forward. But Wike is not the only person that has made such remarks about the Labour Party as well as the People's Democratic Party. There have also been other reactions from several quarters as to the legal team of the Labour Party and how they displayed, or rather put together, their petition, that was forwarded at the Presidential Election Petition Court. A particular PANDEF, that is the Niger Delta Forum, they faulted the legal representatives, of the candidates of the Labour Party. In fact, this of the Labour Party, including Peter Obi and the People's Democratic Party, saying that their failure to do justice to the matter at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is worrisome. In fact, they mentioned of the fact that most of the cases that were ruled out at the Presidential Election Petition Court literally seemed to be quite degrading to the caliber of lawyers that represented these opposition political party principles. They talked about how basic evidences couldn't be presented at the court to defend their petition at the Presidential Election Petition Court, and they're stating that they should collect their money back from the lawyers, being the fact that they didn't do a good job. So here is what one of the publicity secretary of PANDEF, Ken Robinson, he opined that there are lapses, there were lapses rather, in the presentation by the Council for Labour Party and PDP, and they were regrettable as the Court of Appeal made an exclusive explanation and detailed ruling on the matter. He said the judges were clear with facts and did a good job, unlike Peter Obi and Atiku's lawyers who did not do due diligence. Robinson stated further that nobody should criticize the judiciary, and those dissatisfied with the verdict should appeal, which of course, both parties had done. Yesterday, there was a live broadcast of the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. Now, I want to ask you, if you had listened to the petitions that were tendered by both parties, that is the PDP, the Labour Party, including the APM, and with how the tribunal judges at the Presidential Election Petition Court dismissed each of these cases, would you be of the same line of thought as PANDEF that they did not do a good job in putting together their petition and having to do due diligence to it?
I will not go the line of thought.
Okay.
I will not. You know, failure is an offer. When you are playing a football field and the referee and the linesman are against you,
okay,
how will you succeed in that football field? Both INEC and the tribunal are against the petitioners. So whatever they did, whatever they presented, they must find a way to pull it down. And that was what played out. In fact, everybody who has a legal mind will tell you that the tribunal was a lawyer to the defendant. They played the role of a counsel to the defendant. That was what they did on that Wednesday, and it was obvious. By the way, what did the defendant? What did they do in court that is so outstanding? What was that thing they presented? They did not even call for witnesses. Nothing. Okay, look at it this way. The only witness they called, one Bamidele, who is a senator. They are now telling you that the witnesses that will be brought, that they are partisans. The man that is a senator and an APC member, was he not a partisan? Why didn't they discountenance that? They discountenance that of Obi, that all the 10 witnesses, that they all have interest and all that. Please let me ask you, if you are going to court and you want to call a witness, are there not those people that you know who are present, who will speak on your behalf that you will call?
All right, Darlington. It's important for us to be. It's important for us to contextualize these issues. The idea why we actually have in-depth interviews on the world news like this is to have a better explanation of some pertinent issues that are actually trending in the news, whereby we can have a clearer understanding of these things rather than just reading it out and getting basic reactions. We try to see what exactly we're not getting right and have a better perspective of it. So here is, I want you to actually see where these individuals are coming from, who are reacting, because a couple of Nigerians were actually disappointed with the way the judges exclusively dismissed these cases. And some persons say that the judges dismissing these cases, they were quite logical in their dismissal. In fact, the judges actually asked the Labour Party and the APM, including PDP, to pay a fine that they wasted the court's time. Okay, so with regards to the Labour Party and the PDP, they said that the 21-day window given to them to tender their petition and the evidences was so short. And you do know at the time that INEC wanted to conduct elections with the beavers machines because the Labour Party, the PDP needed to have access to it to collate their data. INEC too said they needed to put their house together at the time. So some persons feel that INEC deliberately, delayed in letting these opposition parties have access to what they said they wanted. Now, here is what one of the panel members said. He said, with due respect to the learned lawyers who handle these
delay tactics.
Okay.
And now they are using it against the petitioners. Is that fair? But they made it impossible for them to get all the materials they need to present.
Okay.
And they were telling the tribunal, look at what these people are doing. If the petitioner cannot get evidence from INEC to consolidate their matter, where else will they get it? Where else will they get it? Is it not from INEC? So while we are there hiding it, everybody was aware how they were dribbling them up and down. The tribunal was aware. They did not even discuss that at all. They did not. So why are they not telling us that you may not those lawyers who represented P2B and article, they don't know what they are doing? Is that what you want me to believe? I will not believe that.
No, I'm not asking you to believe. I'm just reading out the reaction of some, top diplomats and some political elite on how the tribunal gave its judgment on Wednesday and how the cases were dismissed. To look at these issues logically from several perspectives.
In so many areas, they erred in law.
All right. So for the judges, you're saying in so many areas they erred.
You said what?
You said for the judges at the Presidential Election Petition Court, they erred in their ruling in so many areas.
In so many areas, yes.
Okay.
The issue of Abuja, yes. You look at how they want to now describe the percent of votes in Abuja. If Abuja was not special, why was he given a special mention in our constitution? That section 299 that they singled out that it can be Abuja can be regarded as part of a state.
Yeah.
It means that Abuja was ab initio, not a state. Abuja doesn't have all the privileges other states have, so it cannot be a state.
Well, they're saying now that Abuja, literally, there's nothing special about Abuja. They said the residents in Abuja, there is nothing special about them compared to other residents in 36 states of the Federation.
That's why it's called Federal Capital Territory. That is something. Mention any other state doesn't have a state capital. Does Abuja have a state capital? Does Abuja have a state capital? Let the tribunal tell us where is the capital of Abuja. Let them tell us if you want to go through that route. If they are part of it, they should have a state capital now. Yeah, let them tell us what's the capital of Abuja. Why is it called Federal Capital Territory? Are you telling me that the flavors of the constitution, they are stupid, they don't know what they are doing? Is that what they are discussing? Even the Supreme Court has ruled on this Abuja, so the Supreme Court is now rubbishing the Supreme Court. That is what it means now. That's what it means. In fact, I am waiting to hear what the Supreme Court will say.
Well, a couple of critics like you and legal practitioners have actually said that there is a possibility that the Supreme Court may not say anything different from what the Presidential Election Petition Court has said. There are expectations that the Supreme Court may dispassionately look into these issues, especially concerning the 25% in Abuja, the dual citizenship, the $460,000 drug forfeiture case, and of course, I think I had an interview with a legal practitioner yesterday evening where he explained it and even tried to, bring up excerpts from the Constitution that buttresses the fact that on this, I think a particular section which says that regardless for the fact that you pay that fine, literally has not given you that sanctity to run or fortify you to run as a president of the Federation. Okay, so let me read out what the PANDAF officials are saying. They said, with due respect to the learned lawyers who handle those petitions, perhaps they need to apologize to their masters and principals who gave them those jobs. From what we witnessed yesterday, they did not do a good job. People will express emotions, but the court does not look at the emotion, but evidence brought before it. For us, we will appeal to those who are dissatisfied with the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to explore the avenue of appeal. So what they're literally, so when the tribunal gave its judgment on Wednesday, a couple of other supporters of this particular dispensation of the All Progressives Congress went on to say that the Labour Party actually took the vibe on social media, which is X, down to the Supreme Court, meaning that you don't take emotions and sentiments to the Presidential Election Petition Court. You have to take evidence and facts and prove it with logic. So do you think that that's the case that panned out with what PANDAF is saying at the moment? Do you think that the petition tendered by the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party was more sentimental and emotional than more logical?
Esther, let me tell you, there are three rules of interpretation of statutes. When you are interpreting the law, there are three rules that must guide you. You have the literary rule, you have the golden rule, and then you have the mischief rule.
Okay.
What the tribunal did on Wednesday was they went down to the mischief rule, and that was what they deployed to interpret all these things. Let me ask you, if there was a letter written by U.S. Counsel on inquiry by our own Inspector General of Police, the tribunal admitted that letter. That letter cleared Tinubu of any wrongdoing in the U.S. Listen very well, though. But the letter or the opinion of the EU observers and that of West Africa observers, the discrepancy that it does not matter. Can you imagine? That letter that they brought, which cleared Tinubu, the people that wrote that letter, the letter invited them to come and testify so that we know whether that letter came from the right source. Everybody can bring a letter to the court. You call the person to come and testify before the court that yes, we wrote this letter and we can counter it. Tinubu and his people can go and get letter anywhere and say he has been cleared. Who among those people who wrote that letter appeared in court to come and testify that this letter came from us?
Okay.
That the tribunal had to admit it, and that was what they used to clear Tinubu. Is that fair?
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, all right? The tribunal said that for the Labour Party and the PDP, they failed to produce evidence, basically. that the All Progressives Congress principal was actually convicted at the United States of America with $460,000 fine. They said they couldn't bring any evidence to that effect. So that means it's tantamount for that petition to be dismissed because they could not get any viable evidence to that. So don't you think that was, they said the Labour Party failed to prove Tinubu was convicted in the United States. They didn't tender any document. They didn't bring anything potentially that could be quite indicting. And so that was dismissed. But that situation has been there in the media when it happened, even right from when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State. He has on several occasions discountenanced the claim that he did not attend the school. He said he indeed attended the school. But aside from this fourth certificate, this particular case has been talked about over and over. At the time when Festus Keyamo was against this particular administration, he emphasized on this. In fact, this was one of his strong points to criticize. However, the same Festus Keyamo came to say that indeed the president was not convicted of that, and that story is a story that had been peddled by his opponents over time to tarnish his image. What would you say to that reaction?
Esther, criminal matter can come up anytime. That you escape justice today does not mean that you will escape justice tomorrow. All these ones that the Tinubu have been Lagos State governor, therefore nobody should go back. Nobody has delved into this matter the way it has been dealt with now. Nobody went as far as Chicago State University to go and find out what is going on there.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Esther, if somebody is making it impossible for you to prosecute him, is that not an admittance of guilt? No, tell me. When you enter plea bargain, does it mean that the offense you committed is now over, that you did not commit that offense again? No, it's not possible. You can assume that what people entered in the US was a plea bargain, and that means he committed a crime. That is it. If he did not go to jail, is it material? Is it material? The fact was that something was forfeited. So why did he forfeit it? Through drug-related offense. That is the issue here. Because the tribunal admitted that. The only thing they are hammering was that he did not go to jail. He was not put on trial.
Okay.
He was not sentenced.
All right.
But he has already entered the plea bargain where he forfeited something. That does not mean that he did not commit the offense.
Okay, Mr. Darlington, I don't know if you listened to the press briefing yesterday that was conducted by Peter Obi and his media team, where he eventually told us that he would be going over to the Supreme Court and at the same time urging the supporters and family of the Labour Party to be calm while they proceed to the Supreme Court. He revealed that his legal team has already received firm instructions to file an appeal against the Presidential Election Petition Court, and he expressed unwavering determination in his pursuit of justice, not only for himself but also for the multitude of supporters across the nation whose electoral mandate, he said, was unjustly thwarted by the Independent National Electoral Commission. He also underscored the pivotal role of solid national institutions and the public's confidence in them. So here is the thing. With what evidence, or rather with what was standard at the Presidential Election Petition Court by these two opposition political parties, do you think the Supreme Court will be dispassionate in giving a different ruling, especially for the 25% in Abuja, the forged certificates, the Guinean dual citizenship, that is his Guinean citizenship that was not disclosed, also the $460,000 drug-related charges that he paid for? Do you think that the Supreme Court will be dispassionate? Recall again that the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation is appointed by the President. So do you think we're going to see anything different this time around?
In fact, there must be something different.
Okay.
There must be something different. If the Supreme Court want to reinvent themselves, they must look at this particular matter, because there are a plethora of evidence which the tribunal neglected. The Supreme Court must look into those evidence, because what the Supreme Court will do when this matter comes will determine where our electoral system is going. I am telling you authoritatively, they must look at this matter critically. They should not do what they did with Hope Uzodinma. or Ahmed Lawan, you can see the approach of that in court. Even what they did with Awolowo and Jagari Mata, which they said no lawyer should make reference to that judgment. Is that a judgment? It's what we thought. So the Supreme Court, this is an opportunity for them to reinvent themselves and clear their name, because there are evidences. If they are not able to get away with all that, all the baggages is carried, then we are done for. Anybody can come up tomorrow and do what things, and then they will give it away.
Now, in reaction to the failure of the People's Democratic Party to win its mandate, to get its mandate at the Presidential Election Petition Court, Minister of the Federal Capital of the FC, that is the FCT's Minister Nyesom Wike, has called on the PDP to suspend the 2023 presidential candidate Atiku from the party. In fact, he urged the PDP to also suspend the Sokoto State Governor Waziri Tambuwal, who served as the Director General of the PDP presidential campaign in 2023. And that call was made during an interview yesterday on Channels Television, on a particular program in the evening. He blamed both men and others like them for the loss of the party in the 2023 presidential election. Now, I want to ask you, for Wike asking these questions for them to be suspended, did Wike, did he exude an aura of somebody that was actively a member of the PDP for him to be calling for the sack of this individuals from the PDP?
Yes, that is the illegality and the lawlessness that is now pervading our political system. If somebody like Wike, who has committed infractions against his own party, committing anti-party activities, we have the guts. We have the boss to be telling people who are in the party, who contested under the party, that they should be expelled. That will tell you the level of lawlessness we are getting to. For him to be saying that, it means that even he himself, he doesn't know what he's saying. On what basis will he ask them to expel Atiku and the rest of them? When he has already gone to the opposition, he campaigned against his own party. I mean, look at the contradiction. I don't know what PDP is doing with that man. Seriously, I don't know. A couple of
persons have said amongst most PDP members, he seems to be the one that is at the top echelon in this particular administration, and maybe that's why they can't do anything about him. Wike himself has boasted that none of them can do anything concerning him. He's still a member of the PDP, but it doesn't mean he cannot criticize the party.
A lot of abnormality has been going on in River State. Remember, all the name went to court and the court ruled in his favor that nobody should prosecute him for all the things he did while he was governor. He still subsisting. Wike has equally gone to court to tell the court that the court should not allow PDP to expel him. And that's why he's still there. So if he's a hero as he claims, why did he go to court to obtain that court ruling in his favor? And that thing has tied in the hands of PDP leadership. Okay. That's what he did.
Right.
That's what tied their hands. He obtained the court judgment in his favor that nobody should be expelled from PDP.
Okay.
So that is it. So if Wike is talking that nobody, he's talking based on the court judgment, he has not that he has power. He does not have any other power. He has left the government.
Darlington, thank you so much for your perspective on the issues that we talked about in the World News at 12. We've run out of time. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you, Queen Esther. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, before we wrap up the World News at 12, the Gabon junta yesterday appointed an opposition leader, Raymond Ndong as the Prime Minister of its transitional government. POB News learned that Gabon's new strongman, General Brice Oligui Nguema, who was sworn in on Monday, announced the development on state TV yesterday. Recall that Nguema, while delivering his inaugural speech on Monday, promised to hold a free, transparent and credible elections to restore civilian rule, but did not give a time frame. He also promised economic reforms. Sima, a 68-year-old economist, was Prime Minister of the overthrown President of Ali Bongo from 2012 to 2014, but he resigned and ran against Bongo as an opposition in 2016, and he is also part of the opposition coalition this year. Bongo, you do know, was overthrown by the military junta led by Nguema, who is now a transitional president of the Central African nation. Central African Regional Blocs (ECCAS) suspended Gabon on Monday, but sent the president of the Central African Republic, Faustin Archange Touadera, as its representative to meet Nguema. Recount that the military government on Wednesday announced the freedom of Bongo, who had been under house arrest since the coup. Now, to wrap up the world news at 12, here again are the top stories. You heard that a senior judge has disclosed that EU ECOWAS reports on Nigerian elections have no judicial value. Wike attacks Peter Obi. Wike also moves to expel Atiku Tambuwal from the People's Democratic Party. And Gabon's opposition leader Sima appointed as Prime Minister. That's a wrap on the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachiku. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel at 90.3 FM on YouTube. Also across all social media handles at VOP 90.3 FM. Good afternoon. Thank you for staying with us. Up next is Matters with Ikami Jude.